It's talking season. It's the off season. It's whatever you want to call it. We're talking all things SEC football. We thought, guys, in the spirit of 100 days to kick off just around the corner, who would you have on your perfect SEC football coaching staff? I'm talking everything from head coach, OC, DC, but also your tight ends coach, your DBs coach. How about your strength and conditioning coach? We're going to build out our perfect staffs. As you can see, guys, I'm not alone. Join my good friends Dave Shumate, Cole Thompson. Of course, you've seen them do fantastic work on SEC Unfiltered. And of course, as always, I am Chris Phillips here. Guys, what's going on? Appreciate y'all taking the time. Really, really excited to dive into this. And let me give props to Cole, by the way, who came up with the idea. Also, Dave, I feel like you guys kind of both tag teamed on this, but glad to be looped in on it. Really, really excited to talk some SEC football coaching staffs.
It's going to be a fun time. I'm very excited about it. Dave and I already are talking over each other, so this is going to be wonderful banter for the next hour plus, however long we do this. I am excited, and yeah, the juices are flowing with the caffeine deep inside. I am not a ghost, but my soul is leaving my body as soon as I finish this drink.
Dave, what's up, man? Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
No, I'm fired up about this. I did something like this with Jake Crane last year, and it was cool. I thought it would be cooler. With two people, it's not as cool. I thought adding three, hell, if we ever added a fourth, you can get more substance, get more depth into it. But last year, too, after we did it, I was like, man, we could have got some other people in here. We could have talked about more content. So I'm fired up about this with adding another person.
My question only, guys, is who's going to take the Billy Napier approach and go with two offensive line coaches and no special teams coach and name themselves the offensive coordinator and have a director of defense, special ops, whatever the heck these magical made-up names are he has for assistants. So
Cole already said he's going an A-back coach and a B-back coach.
Seriously, am I allowed to have a minister of fun on my roster? I want Matthew McConaughey.
Who's the best get-back coach in the SEC? I tried Googling that, and I couldn't find it. So.
Give me McConaughey. He could probably go all right on special teams.
Yeah.
We're good. I'm good.
Every great coaching staff needs a hype man. That is for sure. Guys, before we get going, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. We're all across social media. And, of course, SECUnfiltered.com. Our friends over at RHOBACK supporting this show today. Head over to RHOBACK.com. You see I'm rocking the RHOBACK. Promo code SECU. 20% off your first purchase. Hey, kickoff times. We're just announced for week 1, and you're going to need something lightweight to wear. Why not make it RHOBACK? Because I looked at that 3:30 kickoff down there in Gainesville, 7:30 even in College Station. I mean, it's going to be brutal, so make sure you got your RHOBACK. You're outfitted with that. Again, promo code SECU, 20% off over at RHOBACK.com. Guys, that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it again. We're building out our perfect SEC football coaching staff, and we're going to do a snake draft here. So I'm going to start. We're going to go Dave. We're going to go Cole, then Cole again. You guys know how a snake draft works. We're going to go everything. So let me ask you this, by the way, guys. We didn't clarify this off air. We'll clarify it on here. So can we start in any particular spot we want? Can we start with any coach? We can start. Okay, so we're not having to go down a list of, this has got to be the first coach you name. This is second. Okay, well.
Cole already had his B-back list up first.
I'm waiting for you two to name head coaches, so I just get to go wait for 5 rounds before I make a selection. I'm building this smart. I'm smart when it comes to this stuff, guys.
Okay, I'm going to fire off here and just name them off, and we'll see what happens with my select. I have no idea.
Real fast. I am putting in one rule. Mm-hmm. You are not allowed to have a head coach as your offensive coordinator because if he calls plays. I'm not having you run it with Shane Beamer and Hugh Freeze and call it a day. So you got an OC. It's cool, but you get a head coach.
That is the ultimate cheat code. I will give you that. I'll start, guys, and I'm going to start, shocker, surprising fashion. I'm going head coach, and I'm going Kirby Smart, the best in the game right now. This was over. Very obvious. This is pretty much over. I have the best coaching staff de facto. And the good news is, guys, by the way, those watching, we got a lot of great coaches to select from. But Kirby Smart, top of the game, what he's built at Georgia, the monster that he's built. Nobody, guys, I picked Kirby Smart also because of this. Nobody in college football is better when it comes to getting their team to play with a chip on their shoulder. Nobody's a better game day motivator, in-game motivator. We've seen the halftime speeches, the post-game speeches go viral. I need that in my locker room. I'm going with Kirby Smart at head coach. It's a really easy decision for me. Dave, you're next.
I'm gonna go wild pick here. I'm gonna go with the same school here. This was not the plan of action as we went into this draft. So we're the draft's happening. The phone calls are making. Cole's already called me a couple of times trying to move up order in the draft. I'm gonna go defensive coordinator here. I'm gonna stay with the same team. We're going to go Glenn Shumate, and he's also going to be my inside linebackers coach. His coach
So
two buckets.
that's the kicker. You can combine the coaches like that. So let's make sure everybody knows.
Yeah,
there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. So
I'm going to go Glenn Shumate, my DC inside backers coach. His track record speaks for itself. Leading the defense of the best program in the country right now. I feel comfortable. The difference was here, I felt like there was a bigger gap between defensive coordinators here than there were the top 3 head coaches. So I felt more comfortable. I was going to take the best defensive coordinator available here.
So I think it would be remiss if I didn't at least go with the coordinator with my first pick, which is good in a snake draft because if I get to work my way back and get the 2 guys I really want, I feel like I got to go with the coordinator. I can wait for a head coach. There's some good ones out there. There was nobody that was more impressive to me last season than Kirby Moore at Mizzou for what he was able to work with his offense, with Brady Cook, with Luther Burden, with Theo Wees. They did a great job scheming up the offensive line to open up avenues for what you had with both Cody Schrader and with Brady Cook. And I feel like that when you look at what this team is bringing back this year, especially offensively in the arsenal, plus what you're bringing in terms of replacement on the offensive line, like people are kind of like, I know I am pro Mizzou, and like literally I am probably the only person in the world that would say Missouri belongs right alongside every other team, but I don't really care. What I like about Missouri is they replenished their offensive line overnight, and they only got better with the additions of Caden Green and Marcus Bryant. And then a lot of people are forgetting that you have a really good running back from the Sun Belt Conference and Marcus Carroll coming on in. And that's going to be a plug-and-play replacement for what you have in terms of production with with Cody Schrader. So I'm getting that same type of offensive consistency. Kirby Moore makes a lot of sense. And so I'm going to go ahead and wrap him up before somebody else does. And then when it comes to defense, there are a lot of good coordinators out there. There's a lot of good secondary coaches out there. I don't know too many people that will invoke fear the way that this man did after a loss to Iowa State. And now he is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Give me Bo Davis as my defensive line coach. Listen, the reason why Texas last year made it to the college football playoff was not because of Quinn Ewers. Yeah, cool story, bro. You had a decent year with a lot of hype around wide receivers. It was that trench play, and more importantly, it was the interior defensive trench play. Getting 2 former 3-stars in Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat to not only win the Outland Trophy, which is basically the Fat Man Heisman, but also top 40 picks and turn you into a top 3 run defense. And now I get that paired alongside with Blake Baker in Baton Rouge. It may take a year to grow, but I know what I'm getting with the coaching staff that is going to allow me to trust that Bo Davis is turning this around. Give me the big man up in Baton Rouge to lead the charge.
So we got Kirby Moore and Bo Davis for you.
Yep.
Okay.
You may want to write down some notes, Dave, to make sure that you're locked in because I got my whole list pulled up and I got a cross section off.
I love that.
All right, I'm gonna go get us a head chief. I'm gonna go get the squad. The fight Shumate's a head chief. I'm gonna go Kalen DeBoer here. I'm going to go Kalen DeBoer, a little bit more. I was thinking maybe Sarkisian here, but I'm going to have to get a new OC as well, and that'd be his main heavy-weighted piece of why I'd be adding him. I like his ideas, but overall, I think Kalen DeBoer in today's college football with the transfer portal, high school relation, you can't be just as cut and dry old school as you can be. I think he does a good job of being a player's coach, but also having that CEO mentality. So Kalen DeBoer is going to be leading the squad.
Taking a guy who's never won an SEC game before. Bold.
I like it.
Bold play. I like it, but bold play. Bold play.
Can't wait to watch the 500, buddy. It's going to be a fun time.
Guys, I'm going to switch things up. I'm going to go the second, maybe the most important coach you can have on a coaching staff. I'm going to go ahead and knock out my strength and conditioning coach. I'm going to get Scott Sinclair from Georgia. I mean, again, I'm not overthinking this. Georgia is the strongest, most physically fit, best conditioned team year in, year out. This is the guy who's going to spend the most time. Dave can tell you, he's going to spend more time with my team than anybody. So as important as Kirby Smart was in that pick, Scott Sinclair, what he's going to do for me will create immense value for my program. I'm going with Scott Sinclair there. Let's jump to offensive coordinator. Guys, you're going to give me Bobby Petrino, and I'm not going to take him on Kirby Smart's staff. Yeah, I'm going Bobby Petrino. I already feel like, guys, I've won this because Kirby at the head coach, Petrino at OC. See, I would have went Lane Kiffin as OC if you didn't put your little rule in there.
Yeah, so see? I'm smart I did because I knew it was going to happen too.
But, hey, Bobby Petrino, not a bad second option. I think he's on his redemption tour side note at Arkansas, and they're going to be electric to watch. But Bobby Petrino is going to have us humming on the offensive side of the football. So Scott Sinclair, strength and conditioning, Bobby Petrino, OC, to accompany Kirby Smart, my head coach.
I'm going to go strength and conditioning coach here as well. With us adding true OCs in here, I think I can go get a guy late that I trust. I'm going to go Jerry Shumate here, Oklahoma's strength coach, who has some time back at Florida with Steve Spurrier, went with Bob Stoops, was with Stoops for his entire time with Oklahoma, then was at A&M with Jimbo. Now he's back at Oklahoma with Brent Venables. So he's a long-term, him and Tommy Moffitt, I believe, are probably the two deans in the league from that standpoint. But good guy. Kalen DeBoer will be that kind of players coach, but we also kind of have a little bit of a bad cop as well, having, like you were saying, Chris, when you're with these guys majority of the year, 8 months of the year, usually these strength coaches are with them, except during spring break and a little bit of their initial summer, they're with them all the time. So I'm going to go Jerry Shumate from Oklahoma as my strength and conditioning coach.
Wow. Well, I feel very good about my team now because of the one guy that I was waiting for was going to be made available. So I now know that I have a head coach that is going to be saved up for a while. And I also now don't have to worry about my strength and conditioning coach because of the guy that I thought you were going to take. He's still available. So I got some room. I want to go ahead and get myself a wide receivers coach that's going to bring the best version out of this team. And to me, when you look at what the University of Alabama has produced underneath Holman Wiggins that now is at Texas A&M, it is very hard for me to look in any other direction. Just the laundry list of names who have come on through and been developed and turned into 1,000-yard playmakers, from Jerry Jeudy to Henry Ruggs to Jamison Williams to Isaiah Bond to now we're talking about guys who are now coming into the league this upcoming year. They've done a great job of developing not just excellent talent, but he's also done an exceptional job of watching this team take that next step forward. And so you go down to Texas A&M, what they have in that locker room, it feels like they are going to be ready to take the next step forward. I like what they're bringing in terms of the consistency. Isaiah Williams, a really good speedster threat out of Florida that now is going to Texas A&M. Holman Wiggins, I think, is going to do wonders in College Station, and he's got a track record that backs it up. And then you already brought this up, Dave. I love my defensive backs. I think defensive back coaches are fantastic, and nobody took him yet. And so I'm going to go down to Athens, Georgia, and take the guy that probably should have been hired as the defensive coordinator at Tuscaloosa. But no, now he's going to work with Malachi Starks. He's going to work with every number one defensive back that walks into that building. He is going to turn Athens, Georgia into Tuscaloosa 2.0. T-Rob is now running the Thompson Tech Red Wolves secondary. I'm excited to see what he brings to the backfield. I am excited to see what he brings in terms of mentality. And I still have my head coach and my strength and conditioning coach. Yeah, Chris, you have a good roster. It was a fun time. You won the battle. I'm winning the damn war, people.
T-Rob's a great pick. Hey, I like T-Rob a lot. It's a great pick. Great pick.
All right, offensive coordinator standpoint. Went back and forth. I'm gonna go Charlie Weiss Jr. He's been with Lane Kiffin for a while. If I'm having to take an OC, I like Lane as a play caller. Didn't like him as my overall CEO head coach guy, but I'm going to take the next best thing as an offensive play caller from his trees. Been at Alabama. Give me Charlie Weiss Jr. as my offensive coordinator.
All right, guys, I'm going to go D-line coach. Go ahead and jump into that. I'm going to do Travian Robertson from South Carolina. No bias at all, but Travian, I think one of the up-and-comers in the game, was fantastic at what he did at Tulane. I think he's much better than what you saw from South Carolina's defensive front a season ago, which, by the way, they were much improved than they had been in the previous years. I think Travian Robertson going to do really well. He's a former player. He's a Gamecock great. He can relate to today's players. I think he's an up-and-comer when it comes to young position coaches. Would not be surprised to see him as a head coach someday. Travian Robertson, the D-line coach from South Carolina, going to have us getting after the quarterback. And then I'm going to go quarterbacks coach. I know Bobby Petrino can do it alone, but I'm going to get him some help. And there's nobody better in the business. Joey Hales from Tennessee. I know he's Josh Heupel's right-hand man, but he's done a phenomenal job there with their quarterbacks. See, people look at Joe Milton the wrong way. They look at Joe Milton as, oh, look at this guy. He pulled Tennessee down to 8 wins. He was inconsistent. He was this. He was that. Guys, Joey Hales and Josh Heupel, yes, of course, but they got this man drafted He lost like 3 quarterback battles during his time in college. So they worked miracles and got the very most out of Joe Milton. So I'm going to go old Joey from Tennessee. He's going to coach up our quarterback. It's going to be the right-hand man to Bobby Petrino. And again, as you can tell, I'm trying to score points here. We're scoring a lot of points. Defense is optional. I'm just kidding. We're gonna knock that out in a second. But Joey Hale's quarterback
Trying to be a top 50
Robertson.
defense.
We are. Yeah, we are. Top 50 defense is all we need because our offense is going to be one of the best in the country.
Chris, who did Joe Milton get drafted by?
The
Patriots.
who was it? Was it the Pats? Yeah, it was the Pats. Yeah.
Yeah, that answers your question of why Joe Milton got drafted. Next part.
Very good.
All right, hey, we're gonna up the recruiting game here, and I think he's a good developer as well as you saw at Washington. We're gonna go with my guy Jamarcus Shepard.
Yeah.
I like what he did at Washington. He's got a great personality. Been with him a couple of times, not worked with him, just met with him. Infectious personality. Will be able to bring up the elevation of that room. I think to Cole's guy, you got his guy Holloman Wiggins. I think that room fell off a little bit from a recruiting standpoint what they could have been. I thought he inherited a pretty good room, Holloman Wiggins. Coach those guys up, good developer, but I think Shepard will bring the full. So I like Jamarcus Shepard here as my wide receivers coach.
It's not a bad one. Not a bad one. I can completely get behind that. I feel like I got to start going a little bit more offense. I feel like I got to start going a little bit more with the consistency on that side.
Got to keep up with Chris.
Got to be able. And again, I still have my head coach available. I still have my defense coordinator available. I still got my strength and conditioning coach available. I'm going to go running backs coach here. There is nobody who I thought did more with less and still was able to get ample production than Derail Sims last year at Tennessee. Everyone wants to talk about how hype this offense is underneath Josh Heupel when it comes to passing attack. Does anybody know that last year this was one of the more balanced offenses in all of college football? And on top of that, they were a top 10 rushing unit, headlined by not just Jalen Wright and Jabari Small, but also Dylan Sampson that's coming on in. Sims is a guy that knows how to develop talent. He is a guy that has been able to get the best version of this team out year in and year out. And I feel like that you watch the way that they continuously go with the go up-tempo style. They catch defenses slipping at the right time to where these running backs all pair extremely well with each other to where as all you need is one separation to get open. And because of that, Sims adds that value. So I'm going to go ahead and just lock up my running backs room. And then quarterbacks coach, listen, I get it. Nico Iamaleava. You talk about Joe Milton. Cool story. Guy's got a cannon of an arm. Can't hit the backside of a barn, but he can definitely hit 50 yards down the field to nobody available. You know who can hit the backside of a barn and can also hit any wide receiver open? Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, and that's why A.J. Milway from Texas makes a lot of sense here. The ability to be able to not only recruit, but develop these talents to where they're getting talked about potentially as first-round picks. They're getting talked about as newcomers in the SEC, but really just face figures of what is provided for this roster in terms of they can make that jump. They have a good overall system in place in Austin, and it really starts and ends with the quarterback. He's working alongside Steve Sarkisian. So I'm giving him a promotion. I'm going to pay him an extra $1 million to become my head coach. I know it's crazy. Position coach making over $1 million. Stupid money. But, here at Thompson's Tech, we value the profit of having a great IQ from a quarterback coach. And sometimes, just like Stark took the playbook from Nick Saban, same thing could be said about what you got with A.J. Milway taking it from Sark a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna go get a technician. I think I'll be honest. I think Cole probably got the best one, Bo Davis, the defensive line spot. So he's off the board. I'm gonna go next. A guy that's been at Georgia really since Kirby's second year, Trey Scott, after he took over from Tracy Rocker, who Kirby retained his first half. I'm gonna go Trey Scott, earned his stripes, has his skins, has his heads in the recruiting game, his ability to close guys. I like that. He's going to raise the floor from that standpoint for us. And then he's a developer as well. So I'm going to go Trey Scott as the fighting Shumates here for the defensive line coach.
Good pick, Dave. Good pick. I don't think I've got my defensive. Yeah, underrated pick. I don't think I've got my defensive coordinator yet. I've been so focused on the offensive side. So I'm going to jump to the defensive side. And I gave Dave a little bit of grief for getting a head coach that had not won an SEC game, but I'm going to take a DC that has not coached in an SEC game. And that's Kalen DeBoer's DC. I like Kane Womack. I'm going to roll the dice. There are other guys that are probably more proven that have done it more. And this name's already out.
You got the head coaching experience.
Yeah.
Right. Got the head coaching experience. It was between Kane Womack and Blake Baker for me. But you know what? I'm going to roll the dice with Womack. From what I've seen, from what we've heard early on, again, obviously his track record, if he's good enough for Bama, He's good enough for me. So I'm going to go with Kane. That's a pretty safe way to operate when it comes to those things. I'm going to jump next to – let's go to offensive line, Coach. We got to be solid in the trenches. And despite the question marks about this group coming into this season,
Don't do it.
How are they going to fare in the SEC? I'm going to go with Bill Bedenbaugh from Oklahoma. When I think Oklahoma, I think physical, nasty, aggressive, relentless in the trenches. Again, I will not be surprised. I know they may be a little bit undermanned this year. I will not be surprised if Oklahoma surprises everyone in the trenches. I believe in Bill Bedenbaugh that much. He's going to man our offensive line. We are going to be physical, and we're going to whip some ass at the point of attack. So Womack and Bedenbaugh. And by the way, I just picked up 2 firecrackers for my coaching staff. So feeling too good about those 2 guys.
I thought I had him saved.
People don't think about the O-line coach, but you only think about the O-line coach when you got a bad one. So.
I was waiting for the river.
We're going back-to-back here. We're going to go an offensive line coach here for the Fighting Shumates as well. Hey, it's the most – you got to have the most cohesion at this unit. It's probably the closest unit on the team to the teams I've been around. Just the type of personalities that obviously you're only as good as your weakest link. All 5 guys got to be playing at the same time. Y'all can attest, especially at the college level. Sometimes it's not the best talent or upside guys that turn into the 5 best guys on the offensive line. You know, if they have 5 guys all working, hell, probably the best offensive line I've been a part of. No guys played in the NFL. They just played a lot of snaps and played together. So I think you got to have a captain there, that unit, to kind of bring that all together. I'm going to go with a guy again. The common denominator here is recruiting for me as well, but also developer. I'm going to go Brad Davis. He has 2 tackles at LSU that are going to probably be NFL first-round draft picks. Certainly one of them. You got Will Campbell and Emory Jones. I like what he's shown, the ability to develop some of these guys like Garrett Dellinger, but also get those bookend tackles from a recruiting standpoint and get them to reach their highest upside as well. So I'm going to go Brad Davis from LSU coaching the offensive line.
Well, here's some good news. I got a little bit of time to think about this, just a little bit, because at this point, I can go in a variety of different directions. I'm just going to go ahead and knock out my head coach real fast because of why not? I mean,
somebody's got to lead this organization, Cole.
I got to do it, and I want the Thompson Tech Red Wolves to have a little bit of a bite to them. I want them to have a little bit of an identity to them. There's a lot of smart asses in the SEC, but we know that if I am going to have a head coach that can go toe-to-toe with Deion Sanders on Saturdays when it comes to Twitter, I got to go ahead and bring in the big honcho. Give me Lane Kiffin, absolutely. And by the way, Lane Kiffin has done it right. And I think that a lot of people need to start actually respecting this man's name, not just in terms of who he is as a coach, but also how he's been willing to humble himself and go back to square one to build his relationship and where he is as a coach. He goes and he learns underneath Nick Saban. He goes to Florida Atlantic instead of taking maybe a bigger job. He wins there and gets immediate success when he comes in. He sucks his first year in a COVID season at Ole Miss. Back-to-back, he has 2 10-win seasons during his time at Ole Miss. Not to mention, that's the first time in program history that they had 10-win seasons during the regular campaign. He's coming off of a dominant year. He knows how to work the transfer portal. So even if we ranked like 15th in the recruiting rankings, we're going to rank top 3 every year when it comes to the transfer portal rankings. So we're going to sell the program. He's going to force the NIL collective at Thompson Tech to make sure that they spend a lot of money to keep him around. And he's going to be a smart ass on Twitter.
A lot of big money donors at Thompson Tech.
There's a lot of big. Listen, we live
deep pockets.
We live near the oil fields.
You're in Houston, so you're oil money.
We got the oil money. They're very happy. It is definitely going to be something that I think is going to play out. I just think that when you look at where this team is and who they are and what they bring internally, they are just overall a really sound roster. And then I think that you got to go ahead and get your strength and conditioning coach, knock it out now. The fact that they are able to go ahead and get him at College Station for what he did during his time in Baton Rouge. Tommy Moffitt won 3 national championships because of the development of the offensive line, the development of the defensive line. The weak point of Texas A&M last year and the weak point for multiple years underneath Jimbo Fisher after losing his strength and conditioning coach was the inability to have guys healthy. Tommy Moffitt has changed the way that you've talked about the culture in College Station. And I feel like that if I get to add him to this staff, I get to add him to my team. Not only am I getting a smart ass, I'm getting a firecracker internally when it comes to the strength and conditioning, and I'm getting a really well-rounded staff put together. The only question is there's so many egos. Who's going to be the one that people start listening to? That might lead me to a 9-3 season and miss the college football playoff.
All right, I'm going to go a little money ball approach here. Doesn't have a ton of experience in the SEC. We're going to go on the back end. He's going to coach my secondary. He's going to be corners and safeties. It's going to be Will Harris from Florida. Came from the NFL, but had a coaching background at Washington. Young upcomer guy. We can't keep up with the deep pockets of Thompson Tech.
I was going to say Shumate State doesn't have the oil money. Shumate State.
You don't.
We're going to have to be smart, play money. We can't be giving all the money to our coaches' salaries there. We got to keep it in our NIL war chest here. Can't keep up with the Thompson Tech. They're the Yankees to our Kansas City Royals. So I think we're going to go Will Harris here. Young guy will relate to players well. Ability to recruit. It's a constant theme. If you can't recruit, you're not going to be on my coaching staff. And then we got to save some money for us to go get the players we need. Because again, as y'all know, it's not about the X's and O's. It's the Jimmies and Joes. So welcome to the staff. Will Harris, get with Coach Schumann. He'll get you coached up on the D.
I love it, Dave. Shumate State got to work on those pockets.
Shumate
State. Let's see. I'm running out of spots here, obviously. Oh, let me go to running backs coach. So this one's a little bit under the radar. Again, maybe this is my version of Moneyball approach, but I also just love his body of work. And you know, I'm not trying to have so much recency bias, but I also can't help it. When you look at what Missouri did in their running game last year and Cody Schrader and his development and what he turned into, Curtis Looper, the running backs coach over at Mizzou, I'm going to roll the dice and give him a shot here. I think been there since 2019, up-and-comer. Mizzou typically runs the football well. They typically have fantastic ball carriers, it seems, every single year. They've got 2 new transfers in there I think are going to pan out. But Curtis Looper, I think, a big reason for that. Again, Cody Schrader's season last year, it speaks for itself. And this was a guy who was a D2 transfer. He's able to get that out of him. We're going to have, all due respect to Schrader, we're going to have that type of talent and even better that he's going to have to work with. And let me ask you this, guys. So throw a flag on this play if you must.
All right.
If I told you my linebackers coach was Pete Golding, what would you say?
No. Flag on the play. Flag on the play.
Okay. All right. I knew I was.
Do you have a DC yet?
Oh,
yeah,
I
you
have
one.
Yeah,
you have one. Yeah, so there you go.
Fair enough. Okay, that's fine. I am going to go then wide receivers coach. I haven't gone there yet. I'm going to go wide receivers coach. How about the guy who helped turn Malik Neighbors into one of the best wide receivers in LSU history, Brian Thomas Jr., that fantastic group, Cortez Hankton from LSU. I'm going to go Cortez Hankton at my wide receivers coach. We're going to be making spectacular catches left and right. Also helped out with their passing game. So he's going to be able to give me input, was the passing game coordinator with LSU, or one of them at least, over the last couple of years. So Cortez Hankton at my wide receivers coach and Curtis Looper, my running backs coach.
Next for me, we'll go to the running backs. We'll go Robert Gillespie. He's been around the league a little bit. This position to me, I like it more. Again, you got to be able to recruit. This is where a lot of people put their recruiters at. He's shown he's been able to get some kids at Tennessee in the past. There's time with Butch Jones. He's been at Alabama now with Nick Saban, got retained with Kalen DeBoer. I'm going to stick with Robert G here.
So, well, here's the good news. I still have basically my defensive coordinator available, so I can push that. I want to get better in the middle. I want to get better in the trenches. And I mean the run defense. I need somebody that's going to come on in and enforce fear when it comes to that linebacker room. And even though there was a bit of a drop-off for the first year, you go back and you look at what Kentucky did last season underneath Mike Stoops after replacing John Summerall. And I think that when you see what's coming on in this year with Jamon Dumas-Johnson and the way that Kentucky, which is really weird, they always feel like that they're a sleeper at linebacker, you in the SEC, from Jamin Davis to Trayvon Wallace, and how you're getting in a guy with JDJ. I think Mike Stoops makes a lot of sense for me here, because if I can go ahead and add him in, what it does is it also frees up me to allow myself to have a defense coordinator. And he gets to work with everybody on the field. And he gets to have just the say in everything going on. So give me Mike Stoops as my as my linebacker coach. He's going to easily get the right recruits to come on in as veteran talent. And then just go ahead and call it a day. I'm going to go ahead and take Blake Baker. Last season, one of the most dominant coaches in all of college football. The way that this defense stepped up for Missouri. As much credit as we give to Kirby Moore and what this offensive staff was, this defense did a lot of heavy lifting. They kept it close in games, especially that matchup against Georgia. That went down to the wire because the defense was forcing Carson Beck to maneuver outside the pocket. He was getting a lot of 3-and-outs. So if I'm getting that guy, I'm reuniting him and Kirby Moore. They're going to be coached underneath Lane Kiffin. It's going to be a fun, easy breeze time. I'm going to have to spend $2 million. But again, the NIL collective is doing wonders at Thompson Tech right now. We're in a good spot. So give me Blake Baker. Give me Mike Stoops. Compare the two together. I'm having a really good cohesion at the front seven, especially with Bo Davis too.
All right, give me going to the tight end spot. He's going to be my special teams guy because I know he's done it before at Marshall. So it's on his resume. I think he helps a little bit with Georgia. They split it up. I think they have an analyst that does it. But Todd Hartley has coached some big guys. Obviously, Bowers did a good job at Miami. He coached the Will Mallory kid. What was the other kid? Brevin Jordan. They had them.
Yeah.
Is that who they had them? So he was there with Coach Mark Rick, when he was at Miami. Was at Marshall for a while as a recruiting coordinator. He was my boss initially at Georgia. He was over recruiting. Just an overall around, can recruit the best of them. Has Oscar Delt back this year. And then the kid, sorry, his name. So what's the kid? They got the kid from Stanford in the portal.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So I think he'll do a good job from a recruiting standpoint, organization standpoint. He'll get everybody on the same page from a special team standpoint. So give me Todd Hartley, University of Georgia's tight ends coach, is my tight end special teams coach.
How many picks do we have left, boys? I think there's 3, correct?
I got 3. Yeah.
3. Okay, so we all have 3. Okay, so we're going to name off 3 instead of 2 for this round just to finish things off. So my 3, I've got my tight ends coach, linebackers coach, and DBs coach. DB is very easy for me. I'm going Torian Gray at South Carolina. This is a guy, you look at the secondary in Columbia. Last year was, I think, the exception, not the rule. They typically have been fantastic in the secondary. I believe his first year there, Shane Beamer's first year, and Torian Gray's first year, they were, I think, top 10 nationally in pass defense. Very similar story in 2022. Had a rough start to the season last year, rough about 50% of the season. Came on strong end of year. Torian Gray, also a fantastic recruiter. He spent time at Florida. Like Torian Gray a lot. So I'm going to go with him at the DB's coach. Tight ends coach, I'm going to go Jeff Banks over at Texas. Big fan of Jeff Banks. It seems like Texas every single year has a big physical pass-catching type of tight end. I'm going to go with Jeff Banks at that. Linebackers was tough for me, guys. Linebackers was tough because, again, my 2 picks would have been Pete Golding, who's off the board, and Coleman Hutzler, who's now off the board because he is at Mississippi State. So, for my linebackers coach, I am going to go, here's one that's off the wall, DJ Smith from Missouri. DJ Smith from Missouri. Missouri is typically salty on the defensive side. A lot of it has to do with their linebacker position. So I'm going to go DJ Smith. Again, I wanted Golding, which I guess I should have thought about that when I was picking my DC. Wanted Golding, wanted Hutzler, but I'm going to go DJ Smith. I think he holds second fiddle to nobody, one of the best in the business. So that completes my coaching staff.
All right, so I got 2 left. I was counting us. I'm gonna go. I'm changing it up since we got an extra spot here. I'm gonna put Will Harris over at safeties, and I'm just gonna have an old school mentality guy back there, a technician. He's been around the league. He's been at LSU, been at Florida. He's back at LSU now. Give me Corey Raymond. I think a little bit of the recruiting ability's kind of gone the wayside a little bit, but his technician, he's big into getting the 6', 6'1" corners and then just coaching them up. That's what he wants. Big, long, and can run. You can really only get those guys at Florida and LSU consistently across your board like that because you're usually given size, other school size and speed up. But a different conversation for the day. We're going to go C-Ray as our corners coach. And then I'm going to go back to the Georgia D. Go back to the well. I'm going to go a buddy of mine, Chidera Uzo-Deribe at the outside linebacker position. Played at Colorado, was an all Pac-12 guy, comes from the Mike McIntyre tree, was our outside linebackers coach at Kansas, was at SMU for a little bit, and this will be his 3rd season with Kirby Smart. So I'll take him as the outside linebackers coach there. Because some other ones I kind of like was, what's his name, Pete Kukowski over there at Texas, but he's also the DC, so I can't take him. So give me the young buck. It's going to get it done in recruiting, played the position, comes to the Georgia tree. Give me Chidera Uzo-Deribe to round out the staff.
Don't you have one more pick?
I don't think I was counting for whatever reason. I had my 12 right here.
They're at 13.
What do we have? We had 11 full-time coaches.
Then strength and conditioning and
12. So the 11 full-time strength and conditioning coach would make it 12.
Well, whatever. 12, 13, whatever they like. Hey, Shumate State
Staff's
answers.
done. Yeah, Shumate staff.
Yeah, Shumate State answers to no one,
goal.
Cole. Shumate State answers to no one. Maybe I miscounted. I don't know. I think it's 12 or 13, whatever. Hey, build out your staff the way you want. You're the one that got to answer for it. So
feel free to throw the flag on the play because of technically he is the offensive coordinator, but he's not because if he doesn't call the plays, he just literally answers questions from the people. So I'm ready to hear the flag be thrown. Am I allowed to take Kyle Flood?
If he just coach, well, yeah, why not?
Am I allowed to go?
Yeah.
Boom. Give me Kyle.
Sure.
He was on my list too.
I mean, listen, when you're Thompson Tech and you have the deep pockets, you answer to no one. So I mean,
exactly.
Why not?
Plain simple. Listen,
Thompson Tech's the only school that could go out salary Texas.
Thompson
Tech's the only school that could go out salary.
I am paying an egregious amount of money to go ahead and bring him on in. But I'm okay with that because you want to know why? The way that Texas's offensive line has been completely revamped in the last 2 years. Go back and look at the last decade after Mac Brown left because of incompetence, because they wanted to get a change. They did not have a first-round pick at offensive tackle in, what was it? Oh, yeah, it still hasn't happened yet. We're still waiting for that moment to come. And now you're talking about what Kelvin Banks is bringing on in, plus what you had last season with Christian Jones, how the development of the interior offensive line has been great. Jake Majors has been a 4-year starter. He's going to be with 40-plus starts before he enters the NFL draft. You also have good young talent like DJ Campbell coming on in. I can get that guy to lead my offensive line. I'm feeling really, really good about where my staff is. Tight end coach. And also, he's got a little bit of special teams pop to him. Go ahead and give me Joe John Finley out of Oklahoma. He has experience throughout the SEC. He's a good recruiter. He's done a great job of building relationships throughout his time at both Ole Miss, at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M. So I feel like that if I'm able to get that guy to come on in, I'm very confident in the direction of where my roster is going. Plus, on top of that, I would like to be able to say that I am feeling confident in where I'm going to get tight end play from, whether it be a flex option, whether it be somebody that is more so an inline blocker. I feel pretty confident, and I can also use him for special teams. And then last but not least, just in case I wanted to have like a legit special teams coach, let's go ahead and just pull out the breaks here. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm blanking on his name. Auburn special team coach just got hired recently. Why am I blanking on it? Yeah.
It's not Rob Sale, is it? That's not right?
No, it's why am I blanking on it? I just had it pulled up a second ago too. And I feel stupid now having it. Hold up. Tanner Burns. That's it. Yeah. Here's the thing about Auburn. I don't know if he's going to be any good. I don't know if he's going to be any bad. What I do know is that Auburn has 2 kickers that are in the NFL, and I'm going to want to have a guy that can drain a 60-yard field goal. He has NFL experience. He knows what's going to carry over. So go ahead and give me TJ Burns as my special teams coordinator.
I love that. So that wraps it up, guys. Do we have all these written down? We can go through each individually, and we got them. Okay, I just want to make sure everybody's ready to go. So I'll go first, then Dave, then Cole. This is my coaching staff. My strength and conditioning coach is Scott Sinclair from Georgia. Head coach Kirby Smart from Georgia. OC Bobby Petrino from Arkansas. DC Kane Womack from Bama. Quarterbacks coach Joey Halsey from Tennessee. Running backs coach Curtis Looper from Mizzou. Wide receivers coach Cortez Hankton from LSU. Tight ends coach Jeff Banks from Texas. O-line coach Bill Beatenbaugh from Oklahoma. Linebackers coach. Who is my linebackers coach? Oh, DJ Smith from Mizzou. Let's see. Who was my defensive line coach Travian Robertson. I got these all mixed up. Travian Robertson, South Carolina. Defensive backs coach Torian Gray, South Carolina. And guys, I just realized I am pulling a Billy Napier because I don't have a special teams coach. And you know what? I don't give a damn because we're not punting anyways.
There you go. Well, you know what? Just don't have any false starts while you're at it. I mean, because that'll be good.
Hey, as the great Steve Spurrier once said, settling for 3 is how we lost. So we're not going to be settling for 3 anytime soon.
All right, Shumate State, led by Kalen DeBoer as the head coach. Going to the OC, we're going to go Charlie Weiss Jr., taking a page out of Lane Kiffin's book. Then we're going to go running backs coach Robert Gillespie from Alabama, wide receivers coach Jamarcus Shepard from Alabama, offensive line coach Brad Davis from LSU, Todd Hartley, tight ends and man in the special teams for us here from the University of Georgia. Going to the defensive side of the ball, we have our DC from the University of Georgia, Glenn Schumann, who'll also be our inside backers coach, Chidera Uzodiribe. Our whole front seven, University of Georgia, Chidera Uzodiribe, man in the outside linebackers, Trey Scott, the full-time defensive line coach. Like I said, front seven, all Georgia. Then we're going to go Will Harris, University of Florida, secondary coach, man in the safeties, and then give the veteran presence, Corey Raymond at the corner spot coming from LSU. And then our strength coach, the guy holding it down for 8 months of the year, Jerry Schmidt at Oklahoma, longtime vet. Him and Tommy Moffitt, who Cole will talk about here in a minute, are probably the two deans in the league from a strength and conditioning standpoint. Been around some fantastic coaches. I'll give him the keys to the organization in the offseason.
Here at Thompson Tech, we welcome the Red Wolves coaching staff of 2024. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and actually get the next out.
I was going to say, the energy drink has officially kicked in.
Head coach Lane Kiffin, definitely going to ruffle some feathers and certainly piss off some people on Twitter. But
all you're going to do is complain about NIL and use it better than anybody else.
And use it better than anybody else because he's got a great offensive coordinator by the name of Kirby Moore that revamped Connor Cook, changed the course of how we view Columbia football, the other Columbia football, not the one in South Carolina. And we're headlined by his best friend, go-to buddy, and probably the one person that he trusts more than anyone else with his kids, Blake Baker, who took the money and run down to Baton Rouge. He's going to take the money and run all the way over to Thompson Tech. Running backs coach, we bring in Darrell Sims from the University of Tennessee. He'll boot, scoot, and boogie like Brookston Dunn and get our running backs in the end zone for easy 6 points. Go ahead and give me Holman Wiggins from Texas A&M. He has more 1,000-yard receivers than I do have a bed count in my old back room. You look at the number one offensive line coach in college football, Kyle Flood, and his ability to get the best version out in the 40 acres. Defensive line coach, if he doesn't invoke fear in you, I don't know what will. Bo Davis himself. Linebackers coach, give me Mike Stoops. Listen, he's got 35 years of coaching experience, gets to play the secondary role alongside both Blake Baker and underneath another guy in Bo Davis. Joe John Finley comes in as my tight ends coach, get a little bit of special teams mixed on in. Go ahead and give me AJ Milway, who's developed more quarterbacks than we can count at the University of Texas. Special teams coordinator, give me the likes of God dang it. Tanner Burns from the University of Auburn. Also, we got to throw in, of course, our secondaries coach, Mr. T. Rob Travarius Robinson from the University of Georgia. Not only has he proven that he can coach any position out there, he is now getting paid to coach any position out there. Special teams, strength and conditioning coach, Tommy Moffitt. Honestly, the godfather when it comes to building not only offensive lines, but also defensive lines. Thompson Tech Red Wolves are ready to take charge and take flight in 2024.
There you have it. Guys, this isn't an on-field coach or anything, but I will say Thompson Tech has inspired me that if I could add, again, it's not necessarily my coaching staff, but I will take Ole Miss's boosters. I'm taking the Grove Collective, by the way, with me. So that's I'm adding that to my program. That's
they got nothing compared to the pocket they're fighting Red Wolves.
They have nothing compared to the pocket.
We got to have something to combat the Red Wolves. So. Guys, y'all let us know in the comments who won, which coaching staff are you taking, and where do you agree, where do you disagree? Who would you pick to build out your perfect SEC football coaching staff? Boys, it's a lot of fun. You may very well see us again soon. Dave, Cole, appreciate you guys taking the time.